This is Kathy Deaton from Fan the Flame Ministry sharing with you nuggets of godly wisdom. This episode is titled, Don't Ask God for Deliverance and Then Expect Him to Do It Your Way. I'm going to read Exodus 32, 1 through 9 from the Message Bible. When the people realized that Moses was taking forever in coming down off the mountain, they rallied around Aaron and said, "Do something. Make gods for us who will lead us." That Moses, the man who got us out of Egypt, who knows what's happened to him? So Aaron told them, "Take off the gold rings from the ears of your wives and sons and daughters and bring them to me." They all did it. They removed the gold rings from their ears and brought them to Aaron. He took the gold from their hands and cast it in the form of a calf, shaping it with an engraving tool. The people responded with enthusiasm. "These are your gods, O Israel, who brought you up from Egypt." Aaron, taking in the situation, built the altar before the calf. Aaron then announced, "Tomorrow is a feast day to God." So early the next morning, the people got up and offered whole burnt offerings and brought peace offerings. The people sat down to eat and drink and then began to party. It turned into a wild party. God spoke to Moses as he was up on the mountain. "Go, get down there. Your people whom you brought up from the land of Egypt have fallen to pieces. In no time at all, they've turned away from the way I commanded them. They made a molten calf and worshipped it. They've sacrificed to it and said, 'These are the gods, O Israel, that brought you up from the land of Egypt.'" God said to Moses, "I look at this people. Oh, what a stubborn, hard-headed people." The ways and timing of God are much different from ours. Sometimes that means we must wait longer for an answer to prayer than we think we should. It is easy to fall into the trap of trying to substitute our own solution like the Israelites did in this passage. They quickly fell back into their old ways when they thought Moses might be dead. Interestingly, they refer to him as that Moses, the man who got us out of Egypt. Who knows what's happened to him? The King James Version says, "As for this Moses, the man that brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we wot not what has become of him." So they had already started to disassociate themselves from Moses and already thought of him as being dead. In their minds, their leader was gone, and they needed another one as soon as possible, no matter what or who it was. Even though their life in Egypt had gotten to be unbearable and outright horrible, they chose to only remember the good things, like the good food that was there. They had such a miserable existence that they had begged God to deliver them. But he had not done things in the way they desired, so now they had started to murmur and complain against him. Isn't this just like us sometimes today? We ask God for deliverance, but we want him to do it our way, not his. Moses had been up on the mountain for over a month, so they decided to take matters into their own hands. They were comfortable with the heathen idols of their past because it was something they could physically see. They told Aaron in verse 1 to do something, make gods for us who will lead us. These gods had no power, but the Israelites could physically see them. I guess they must have felt good about what they had done, because verse 6 says they started out offering sacrifices that were supposed to be holy to God. And then things quickly turned into a wild party. God had been physically providing for their needs since they had left Egypt. They couldn't see him, but they could see the evidence that he was real on a daily basis. They were surrounded by supernatural miracles each day, yet they somehow believed their way was better because they could physically see this very dead but golden calf before them. Satan is always waiting in the background for his chance to put that same way of thinking into your mind. We might not have our own physical golden idols like the Israelites, but it's easy for us to go back to our comfort zone and decide that it is much too risky to step out on faith to do something impossible for God. Or it would be impossible without God helping us do it. We want him to show us exactly what he is doing and let us see in advance how things will turn out. But that's not usually the way he works. God already has things under control. So if he chooses to reveal things one step at a time, he probably feels that's all we can handle. In the end, none of us has the ability to see how God plans to work everything out on our behalf. In my experience, he usually does things in a much better way than I imagined or planned. The next time you're stressed out because you need an answer and God hasn't given one yet, remember that sometimes he wants to see just how much you will trust him and depend on him to work everything out. He just might have something much better planned than what you envisioned in the first place. This is Kathy Deaton from Fan the Flame Ministry, sharing with you nuggets of godly wisdom. Please check out my blog at whogodis.com and sign up for my monthly newsletter. I've also written Handbook for Victorious Christian Living, which gives practical ways to learn to hear the Holy Spirit and get grounded in the foundations of the Christian faith. I would also love to interact with you on social media, and you can sign up for podcast in the iTunes store under Kathy Deaton or Nuggets of Godly Wisdom. Thank you so much for listening, and may God richly bless you as you seek to follow him.